see whether it's going to go live. Yes, it has gone live. I think there is some internet issues here in the institute. That is why it has gone live. We have dropped frames here, and that's about 50% of there is some frames. Internet issues here in the institute. That okay. So yeah. So many students have GitHub account. So what I'm going to do right now is, can you people say, I'll do one thing. Can you people share your wait, let me just go to GitHub, and I'll add you, I'll invite you through the repository, the PhD applications. Okay, so let's yeah. So I'll go to PhD applications, and but do not commit anything to the PhD applications. You can just clone it, and whatever work you're going to do, right, do it at your end, and you can use it for reference maybe. So what I'm going to do right now is, I'm going to go to the settings, and then I'm going to just a second, collaborators. I think my password is this, probably. Yeah, my password, I didn't remember it correctly. Okay, so you can see that a lot of your seniors are collaborators to this. Okay, because I have actually shared this to your seniors also as part of their assignments for 2 of their courses. Okay, so now can you guys please message me your let me see what I require. Add people. Yeah, I need either the email address by which you have registered on GitHub or the username.
Sir, institute mail ID, sir.
Okay, can you please send your email addresses, please, in the chat? Okay, so I'm going to add one by one. Okay, add next person. Okay. Did this 21124 get the invite?
Sir, I'm checking, sir.
Yeah, sure. So next is Abhishek. Did you get the invite? I have just sent you, and I'm going to add.
Yes, sir.
Right.
Yes, sir, we got invitation.
Good. Ayan Guru Ishwar. Then.
Yes, sir.
Friends Glory Alex. Afrit. Okay, Afrit, you have it with your personal email address. I suggest you people add your personal email addresses to your GitHub also. Okay, because what if you lose access to your institute email address after 4 years? You don't want to delete your GitHub, right? You can actually have multiple email addresses added to your. Hey man, who is this? Who sent Abhishek? Abhishek, send me your correct email address. I don't think it is 211216@gmail.com. That is Kona VLN Abhishek. Okay. Are you there in the meeting still?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is it at the right Gmail, or was it by mistake?
By mistake, sir.
Okay, then no problem. So share your corrected one, okay, so that I'll be able to do this one by one only. This addition, this cannot be done together. Okay, Aditya 17777. Add people. Okay, Aditya. Is it 17777, right? Not one.
Sir, above one.
Yeah, sure, got it. And next is Anshika. Add people. So those students who got access, right? Clone the PhD applications, get the PhD application, I mean that particular code, and see what is happening there. And Uh, oh, that was 211219 at yeah. Who was that? Malot Nishant A. Okay. Next is Bubesh. Okay, so Bubesh, you have added both your email addresses, correct? To the GitHub. Is that correct, Bubesh?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. So students, all of you can do that also. Okay, you can add your personal email address to the GitHub, so that even if you lose access to one of your email addresses, right, you will still be able to access GitHub. All right, and because you don't see, what if you write some good code during your college days and you don't want to lose it, right? You can put it on GitHub and you want to actually share it with people. Yes, you can. All right, so I think the only thing that is pending right now is Kona VLN Abhishek, correct? So it's got to be at the rate triple IT. So someone can you share how have you got access? Okay, can someone tell me whether I added Vishesh Nagar?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I got.
You got it, okay. And 2, 3, 4. What about the next person? Veera Subramanya Vignesh Vemula. Did you get the invite? I guess no, probably.
Yes, sir, I got it.
You got it. Okay, great. So I have to probably add Nishant. Can you ask? Okay, share. Okay, yes. So any students who got the access, right? Can you share your screen and show how you're going to clone the application, or else let me do it right away from my own computer. So I'm just going to go to Git folder. So I have a folder called Git here, and I already have the PhD applications cloned. So I'm just going to create a new directory mkdev. Okay, no, not here. So I've created another folder in Python 3 called Django. Okay, and let me clone it over here. Okay, so how do you clone it? Guys, I hope you are able to see my screen.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so let me add Galanki Charan also. So I'll add everyone and then I will show you. Okay, I hope all of you must have received the invitation so far, and those students who received the invitation, right, kindly accept the invitation. Okay, I can see that there are 18 invitations that are still open, and there are some of your students also, I mean your seniors also, who kind of did not use it because they were actually having group projects. So that was fine. Okay, so now okay, how do you clone it is the question. So once you go to the repository, right, on a GitHub, this is what you will see. Okay, over here you have an option to see code. Okay, so there is something go to file, add file, and there is something called code. So click on this code button. Once the code button is shown, right, you have now again two other options. One is using HTTPS or by using SSH, or you can download a zip file. So I don't mind how you do it, whether you download it as a zip file, whether you download it through SSH, or whether you download it through HTTPS or through the GitHub CLI. So I'm going to use SSH. So I'm just going to copy this particular link. So whatever thing we are going to use, right? So I'm using SSH, and with SSH I mean to say that I have like some settings here. Okay, and I have some secrets, not secrets. Let me see. Your project, your profile, your organization settings. Let me just see settings. Yeah. So I have something like SSH and GPG keys here. Okay, and wow. So I have some SSH and GPG keys that I have put here. Those are the what you call as something called public private pair, public private key pair. Okay. So this is something called, this is something that you might learn in cryptography if you learn, but this is something called public private key pair. Okay. So I use some protocol called SSH. If you do not want to do that, you can actually go ahead and clone it using just say HTTPS. Okay. Or I think you can probably install the GitHub CLI. So you can search for GitHub CLI for Windows, because most of you might be doing it from there. Okay. Now I'm not sure whether this is available for Windows. That's first thing, because I am not a Windows user at all. I am a complete Linux user. Okay. So that is going to be a trouble. Can someone tell me whether it is available for Windows, the GitHub CLI? Yes, it is mentioned. It all installed GitHub CLI on Mac OS, Windows and Linux. So you can go ahead, try to install it, okay, with GitHub CLI. So I'm just going to share these links with you over here. So now only I am creating the GitHub account. That is fine. Mud Praveen. So can I invite you right now, and then I will invite Malotu Amulya also. So let me just add Praveen, and for adding Praveen I need to go to the settings of this project. Okay, and I need to go to collaborators, and I need to add people. So that is 211221, and next is, so that is Mud Praveen. I am not sure whether I added Galanki Charan, so I am just going to add him once. Galanki Charan, did you get invite?
Sir.
Okay, good. And now I need to add Malotu Amulya. Malotu Amulya, and then more students are sending the their GitHub addresses. So let's do that. Add people. Malotu Amulya. One thing, do not commit to this main repository. Okay. I am giving you this access because the repository is kept as private. It is not public. Okay. So it's kept as private. Then Rohit BK. Badraksh, did you get the invite?
Let me check, sir.
Yeah, please. And Rohit BK Praj also must have received the, Rohit Raj also must have received the invite. Now, yeah, so let's just take a look at quickly what it is. So, I told you about the SSH key, right? You don't necessarily need to clone it with SSH. You can clone it using HTTPS. Okay, but I think when you are going to clone it with HTTPS, you might have to enter your GitHub username and password in the terminal. With the SSH key, I don't have to necessarily do that. So I'm just going to copy the SSH URL that I need to use for cloning, and the command that I'm going to use is very simple: git clone. Right. So, yeah, the command that I have written, I have to write is git clone, and then whatever you copied. So I have using git at github.com /anoopjt phd applications.git. So that is the link that I have copied from here, correct? So that's the link that I have copied from here. Now all I do is I just enter this command, and it will say cloning into phd applications, and it will just keep pulling all the necessary things. And now you know that a new folder called phd applications is created in the directory where I had cloned it. So I can now go into phd applications, okay, and you can see that it has downloaded the file. Now I just use Emacs, and let me see whether I can read the readme.md. Okay, it's a readme.md file, and once you open it, you will see that it's markdown language that is used there. Okay, so you can read about that. It's called markdown language. This particular thing that you see over here, the readme, right, is the same thing that you can actually see here, which is in formatted. So this one, right, you can see that it is called readme.md, that is actually rendered as a proper HTML kind of thing. All right, so this is the actual code for that, and introduction, how to run environmental variables, creation of upload directories, setting up Apache for serving the static content. So I'm not sure whether, I mean, I don't want you to set it up or anything. Just take a look at the entire code base. That is the most important part of this particular exercise, and to get to know, get started with Django. Okay, so this readme contains a lot of information like how to run, how to set up the environmental variables. Say for example, in this particular project, right, we have not actually set the environmental variables or the passwords or anything in the code. Okay, you will not find it, because if you put the username on the passwords and those things, right, in the code, it is quite possible that I might by mistake have published my server's original passwords and usernames, and somebody else will be able to gain unauthorized access to that system with the passwords, everything. So we use something like this, where we pass. So you know, path is an environmental variable, right? Echo path. Do you guys remember path variable, right? That we have learned.
Yes, sir.
Yes. So path is an environmental variable. Similarly, we are going to create environmental variables like phd applications secret key, phd applications user, phd applications name, phd applications password, phd applications host, phd applications email host, phd applications email host user, phd applications email host password. Okay, so these are the variables that we export, which means that if you use echo phd applications underscore secret underscore key, it will print something. Okay, and you can actually set everything by these commands with the export commands. Then you have some directories to be created, which are for uploading the photographs, documents and the signatures by the applicants. So every applicant will have to upload their photographs, documents and the signatures, and we need to store it somewhere, right? So for that one, we are saying that we have to create some folders or directories with some permission called 775, which is actually read write execute and read write with no execute permission. So this is 775 permissions, and we will create the appropriate directories like that. And then this is actually for serving the Apache. Say, let's say if I go to iitt.ac.in, right, I'll get this particular institute website, but if I, let's say, ns lookup iitt.ac.in, it will tell me what is the IP address of the server. If I use this IP address and I try to go to that particular link, right, it will show me that it is an Apache 2 server that is running this particular web server. So if you type Moodle, then the Apache serves the actual Moodle page. If you type IIIT, it will serve the actual thing. But if you type if you type just the IP address, since it is not mapped in the DNS, it will just show you the default Apache landing page. Okay. Anyway, I just wanted to tell you about. Wait, did I close something here? Yeah. So that is how you will serve the pages, and for the Apache configuration an example is given here. Okay, so this is an example for configuring the Apache, and we have given the server name to be IIIT.ac.in, okay, but that is commented in this particular example. And then you have to set the permissions for the folders if you want to use it, and then you want to run it, you have to use this like this. So first is you have to do python manage collect static, and then this is how you will run the particular server as a production server on a production system. Okay, now that is just the readme. Okay, now going back to the terminal, we know that we have already downloaded the code, right? So I am just going to open VS Code. Oh, I'm sorry, code space dot. Okay, so I'm just going to open everything with the Visual Studio Code. Let me see whether it has opened it. Yes, it has opened Visual Studio Code. Yeah, trust the authors of all files in the parent folder Django. Do you trust the authors in the files in the folder? Code provides features that may automatically execute files in this folder. Okay, yes. Alright, so I'm going to just close this read file, multiple int file. Okay, so I'm just going to open the PHP applications. So right now I have the PHP applications, and now you know that if I want to click on URLs, let's just try to go to the code. Okay, I'm going to so in the PHP applications folder, right, we have the readme.md, correct? We'd have the readme.md file, which we saw what it had right now, and we know that there is something called manage.py file, but there's nothing that you need to edit over here. Okay, that's something that is already set for you. Next is you have two folders in there. Okay, one is called PHP folder and one is called PHP applications. In the PHP folder you have something like the urls.py, views.py, tests, models, forms, apps and admin, and then you have static folder, templates and uploads folder. While in the PHP applications you have something like the urls.py, settings.py, wsdi.py, asdi.py. So in this one, right, let us try to open the settings.py first in the PHP application. So when I open the settings.py, right, the code is this. So secret key, right, we have seen that we set the secret key by PHP applications underscore secret key. So this will get the os.environ.get. So okay, you use the module called OS, and in OS environment you get the PHP applications secret key. Okay, and this one is set to be debug is true, and there are some installed applications like, for example, captcha, php config, Django countries, crispy forms. Okay, so these are additions that we have done, and then these things you don't necessarily have to worry about, because these are called the middleware, which will do some in between things. You don't need to worry about it right away, but it is something like something that is used for data transactions and communication between two different systems that enable or this middleware enable the security and the sessions, etc. That is what you need to understand right now. And then you have URLs configuration, which is in the PHP applications.urls, and we know that we are in the PHP applications right now. Okay, then you have the templates. Okay, and then you have certain things like the databases. So I think Abhishek Kumar Mohandi was asking me about how to set up the databases. So this one, right,
Yes, sir.
already uses a database which is set up. Now for you, right, you have two options. Can I try the Pulse app, right? Pulse app Django. That's what you are trying to do, right? So
Yes.
the Pulse app at first uses the SQLite database. Is it right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So you can leave it with the SQLite database. I don't have a problem with that. Okay. With the SQLite database, it means that let's just see what is SQLite. So SQLite database is a very simple file based database. Okay. So SQLite is a database engine written in the C language. It's not a standalone app, rather it is a library that software developers embed in their apps. Okay. So which means that you can actually use SQLite without having any additional database setup. But in case you want to use any additional database setup, then you have something called, I have shared something, okay, wait, Rohit Raj, then Rohit is Belur onwards, I have to add. Okay, so you know, in the morning, in the first 1 minute before I started recording the meeting, I shared a particular link with you, right? apachefronts.org/index, and if you look at that, you will see that I have something called XAMPP, which will install Apache, MariaDB, PHP and Perl on my computer, on my Windows computer. So you can actually install XAMPP and this MariaDB, right? That is the database component. So you can actually use XAMPP for that, or else you can just install MariaDB on Windows directly. That is also fair, fine. Okay, and you can use some you know, MySQL client for Windows. Okay, and you will be able to work it around, but necessarily you don't have to work with the database completely, because we will be working in the Django only. Okay, so I don't mind even if you set up for the time being just an SQLite database. In this one, right, we use the MySQL database or the MariaDB database. MySQL database was the older name version, and now it is called MariaDB. So that's the only difference. It's the same thing. Okay, so database configuration is here. Then you have the database configuration is here. Then you have the authentication and password validators, and then URLs for the static root, right? So yesterday we used the os.getCWD, right? So although I have used these codes at some points in time, I couldn't, you know, quickly recollect it. So, and then you have another things like for the email host, username, email, password, etc., right? Again, those are things that we get from the environmental variable. And then you have something like the last date time. So if you go to PhD applications, phdatmission.iitt.ac.in, on the top of the website, I have log out. On the top of the website, the application deadline is printed. This is exactly the same. Oh my goodness, did I make a mistake here? Oh, okay. On this server it is different, okay, and we are not looking at the server code. I got confused in between because I usually work on the server directly most of the time. Okay, so yeah, so this particular last date time is used to restrict a user from making any more application submissions after the deadline. So which means that the application will not accept the applications if it is past the deadline. It will work only up till that particular deadline. After that it will show you the time is over for the application. Okay, so that is the settings.py. Now in this particular thing, we have seen that it contains multiple things like whether we want to run the program in debugging mode or not. Okay, and it also tells you what are the additional applications that we have installed on the Django project that we have, and it also tells the URL configuration and the database configuration, etc. So let's take a look at the URL configuration. So I'm just going to go to the urls.py, which is in the PhD applications folder. I go to the urls.py, and you can see that it says I need an admin URL for let's say, if I show you that, it will be something like this. I can go to phdatmission.iitt.ac.in/admin, and then it will give me a Django administration login if I want, and I can actually log in. Okay, so right, so that is the admin URL, and then you have something like the PhD URLs. So now you should understand that PhD is another application. So PhD applications is the entire project, and PhD is an app that we have created in the PhD applications. So it says that path include phd.urls. So let me just see whether we can go to this phd.urls. No, we can't, because phd.urls, right, is actually encoded as a string. But I know that it is actually this phd.url. So I am just going to go to that phd URL. So first I had gone to the phd applications urls.py, which is going to tell the entire project that in the entire project I am using this phd URLs and the admin URLs. Alright. For the admin URLs, admin site URLs, it's already configured. Okay. Say I do control click. It will tell me if I want to see what is admin, right? I can just click on that and it will show me where this admin code is and what is this. Okay, this is actually something that is already available in Django, which means that you don't have to change anything. Now I will go to the phd URLs. So for that I will where I have to go is I have to go to the phd applications folder. Inside that, right, there is phd and phd applications. Right now I am in the phd applications urls.py, but what I need to go to is the phd urls.py. So I go to the phd urls.py, and voila, what do you find here? You find some things that actually make our Django application work. So for that, right, before that I want to show you something, right. I think let's just quickly go through what Django is. Okay, so this is something that we have already covered yesterday, but I am using an online slide from Colorado University to just tell you what exactly this Django is. Okay, so F5, sorry, F11, and how do I go ahead with the presentation for this one? Present, right. Okay, so Django, we know that it's a web development framework for Python. So we have already given an introduction to what is MVC design pattern. Okay, we want to see the Django architecture, Django modules, and why Django for web development. Okay, so Django is pronounced as Django, D is silent. Okay, Django, it's not Django, it's Django. And Django is a high level Python web framework that encourages rapid development and clean pragmatic design. Okay, clean pragmatic design, that is very important. The web framework for perfectionists with deadlines. Primary focus, dynamic and database driven websites, content based websites. Examples are websites like Washington Post, eBay, Craigslist, Google App Engine. These are all created with Django. Next, history. It's named after the famous guitarist Django Reinhardt and developed by Adrian Holloway and Jacob Kaplan Moss at the World Online News for Efficient Development. This is a free and open source software. Okay, meaning that you have the source code for this software. I'll give you a quick example for what is closed source and what is open source. Say if you are using Windows operating system and you want to see how the Windows operating system has been programmed for you, you will never be able to see that because it is a closed source operating system. If you want to use Linux and you want to see how it has been coded, how it has been programmed, can I actually make some changes to the Linux operating system? Yes, you will be able to do it because it is an open source or a free software, or the source code is available to you. Okay, so it's Django is an open source software package, and first released version was on September 3rd, 2008. Okay, so what you can think of it as is a MVC architecture or the MVT architecture. Okay, it should be called as the MVC only. Okay, not MVT. Here T will stand for template and V will stand for view. So templates and views are pretty much similar. Okay, but views are something what controls what a user sees, while templates controls how a user sees it. Okay, so there is some slight difference between these two, which you will definitely get an understanding of once you start coding and once you start writing more and more projects, etc. So you have models, views, templates, and controller. So models is what describes your data structure and the database schema. So that is what models are. Views controls what a user sees. templates, how a user sees it, controller, the Django framework, and the URL parsing. So here right now we are in the URLs. So that is where I started this particular whole thing from, right? I went to the PHP application settings.py and then I took you to the PHP urls.py, correct? And in the PHP urls.py, you can see that the path, if there is an empty path, I have to go to views.index. So can I just click on views.index? Yes, I clicked on views.index and you can see that it has actually opened the views.py file in the same folder where urls.py was present, and it has taken me to a function called index. Once again, let's go back once. How do I go back? Okay, once again I'll just click on views.index. So I press control and I press index, views.index. It took me to def index, okay, and you can see that this is what will create the first landing page, as in the, I'm sorry, just a second, yeah, this particular page that you see over here, right? So the views.index, that is the index function, is the one that is responsible for creating this particular page that you see here. Okay, now I am just going to log in once, okay, and I am going to log in as, let's say, Anup JT. Okay, so I've logged in, and now you know I'm going to the same URL, PhD admission, PhD admission, okay, and slash, that's it. There is nothing there, okay. What I mean is, I can actually say, let's say, what is the other one? Let me show you. Account, sign up, personal. Okay, so I'll show you personal. Okay, so if I go to PhD, okay, for that I have to select an application. Yeah, so I've gone to personal. So you can see that when I went to personal, right, it took me to some page. When I click on, let's say, applications, it took me to some page. Oh, right now it has shown me a server error, which means that I shouldn't probably try going there directly. And another one is probably, let's say, another one that I can show you is address info. Let's try address info. Oh my goodness, yeah. Address info. Okay, address info, that took me to another page. So you can see that these URLs, these URLs, these addresses, right, are created by these URLs, and these are linked to a particular function. So views.index is what the default path, empty path takes me to. Okay, so if I am logged in, it will show me this page. If I am logged out and I go to phpadmission.triplitt.sa.in, it will show me this thing. How does it do that? So for that, to understand what it is doing, I need to go to views.py, and in the views.py, what it does is, you can see that it says if user, it has something called request object. Okay, so when we know that in the client server architecture, right, there is this in the client server architecture, right, the client sends a request to the server. So that request is there, right? So this request object has that particular request, and we take this request. So if request dot user is authenticated, then you have to show them the applications, correct? If the user is authenticated, if the user has logged in, then you will select the application.objects.filter account is equal to request.user.email. So there is something called primary key. Say for example, let us say that we have the complete marks list for the entire class of CS151. There are around 37 students, correct? Now how do I know which, let's say that there are 37 rows of marks in my file. How do I know which row belongs to whom? Okay, or if I want to quickly take the marks of Anshika or Bhadraksh or Akash, how do I do that? which means that I need to either know the roll number and I need to know that the roll number is unique, which means that with the roll number I will be able to identify either the person or I need to get the user email address. Email address is unique. So here what it does is application.objects.filter account is equal to request.user.email. So the account is created by the user's email address and we are going to filter all the applications into that. So that is how you will get the applications. Say let's say login to apply, right? I go to Anu IT, yeah. You can see that this is one of the application. Let me just let me log out and let me log in to apply and let me log in with some other user. Let's say I think can I try this? I'm not sure whether it has this or not. Bad credentials, so don't worry. Next is, let's say, I think yeah, one of the previous applicants I have the, yeah. So let's say I just one of the previous applicants, okay, had two applications, let's say, assume. So since I am the administrator, right, this student has contacted me and given me the password so that to check certain things. So I have access and I had saved it in my browser. So I just use that to log in. So this particular user has two applications, PhD IIITT 00258 and PhD IIITT 00294. And you can see that both are to the department English, and one of it is shown to be withdrawn and another one is shown to be submitted. Okay, which means that this has been submitted properly and this has been withdrawn because the candidate probably saw that there was some mistake in that. So once I click on this, right, it will show me all the applications that I have, and you can see that it is the default URL that it takes me to. All right, and if I have not logged in, it will show me the index page. And how is it done? So if I am logged in, it will do this. Okay, and what does it do? Oh, just a second, guys. Oh, okay, what does it do? It renders the request to the landing page.html with a dictionary that is passed to it, and the dictionary is what? Dictionary contains the user, request user, and the applications. So it contains two keys. The dictionary user is one key and the another key is applications. So what you pass is the request object is passed to the landing page and the context is passed. The context contains the username, user, and the applications. So let's see what is this landing page. Where does it come from? Where is this landing page.html coming from? Okay, so this one that you saw over here is actually part of your controller. Although it is called in views.py, it's part of your controller. And in the templates, if you go, you can see that there is something called landing page.html. And you click on the landing page.html and you can see that this is something called, this is, what is Django templating language called? Jinja, I guess, templating language. I think it's Jinja. Yeah. So the Django templating language is called Jinja, and for that I told you, right, you need to get an idea about what is HTML. So HTML is what you will write on a piece of in a file. Okay, you will save this code as a index.html file, and when you open it, it will open in the web browser and it will show you the website. Okay, so HTML is what you will use to show a website to a particular user. Okay, now this particular code also contains a HTML. So if I right click on this page and I click on the view page source, it shows me the HTML code. Correct, it shows me the HTML code. So how is this HTML code? Where did it generate the HTML code? That is what the templates are doing. So here, right, there is something like block title, extents base generic, PHP application portal, okay, and these are all Django specific things. These things that you see here are Django specific things. while this line number 7 is actually a proper HTML code. Okay, and then line number 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21 are all proper HTML code. And then you have in line number 22 a small Python code written in the Jinja templating. So this is what Django helps you with. You can actually write your HTML file and it will get rendered, parsed by the context that you pass. So for example, we were in the urls.p, we were in the index, right? We know that the context, that is the dictionary, is passed to the landing page.html. Okay, and it contains applications. And now if we look at the landing page, right, we can see that it uses applications. For application in applications, okay, then we have a proper again HTML code where one thing is the CSRF token anyway that is used at one point, but otherwise what we do is we will generate the thing from the database. We have read from the database and we will render it into the HTML page. Okay, so that is what we have done over here. Okay, so that's the landing page. Now in case if you don't that is the landing page once you are logged in. Let's say if you are not logged in, right, for the index, if you are not logged in, you will be directed to the index.html page with the context authenticated, user is authenticated. Okay, so for that what we will do is we will see what is the index.html. So that is also there in the templates folder. There is an index.html. So take a look at the index.html, what is written. Okay, so take a look at this thing and take a look at the page source. So you will see that there is a difference between what you see here and what you see here, because this one contains some percentage, braces percentage, some things. So these things are going to be filled up by the Django engine before it is sent to the browser. So that is what you need to understand. So now we have the let's say the URLs, okay, and another URL, let's say account, sign up, personal, login, logout, okay, create application, address info. Let's take a look at address info. So I am just clicking address info, and yes, we can see that there are certain things that are used in line number 268, 269 and line number 270 over here. These are called decorators. These are called Python decorators. Read up about that as well, decorators. Okay, so decorators means that before this function is executed, the first decorator says that for this function to be accessible by a user, the user has to be logged in. That is login required. That is first decorator. If the user is not logged in, you have to pass the user to this particular URL. The user has to go to the login URL and login. And then it says that another decorator, transactions are atomic, and another one is invalid application, incomplete application, valid access. Okay, that is a decorator that we have defined in this particular project itself. Okay, so again we have certain things that are done in the address thing, and you can see that it is a bit of bit of a lengthy function. Now this has kind of given you the idea of what exactly happens with the URLs and the views and the templates. But one more thing that I want to show you is about the models. So let's say we have seen the application. So I'm just going to click on application, and when I clicked on application, it has taken me to somewhere called models. And models is how we will create what are the rows and what are the columns that it should have for each row, etc. So that's it, students. A quick introduction to PHP applications, the Django application, and one more thing that I want to, so that was the MVC architecture, okay, and I need to present it here. You have Django modules which will be for multiple things. authentication system, comment system, forms handling, sessions, administration, caching, internationalization, localization, custom middleware. So all of these things are possible with Django. Okay, and the Django architecture is something that we have already discussed. The browser client requests, URL configurations hits the views hits the model and the template as necessary, and then gives a response back. So that is what, so this entire parallelogram place is what the Django space is. Okay, so why Django for web development? Because we use the dry principle and MVC pattern, and provides auto generated web admin to ease the website administration. So a lot of things, everything is in Python. Okay, so allows you to separate business logic from the HTML and create steps to create a new project. I have already shared it with you. You please go through that, and we have already discussed what Django generates. What are these? Okay, so it will generate the URLs, models, views, correct? And we have already seen the sample application as well. All right, so that's it, guys, for today morning session. So for today's afternoon session, I want each and every one to start working with the Django application. If any of you are getting stuck, right, get help from your friend. Because this is a tutorial application, so there's nothing that you need to be fighting against each other. This is tutorial application. The idea is that all of you have to successfully do it and understand what is happening. Anyway, now I think Bhadraksh, I think Rohit is Belur onwards. Students, do you have another class right now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, if you have, you may leave. I will just add the students and I will leave. By the way, I just need to take the attendance. Just don't go away. Give me a moment. Today is Friday, 13th May. So I'll add all the students, and you will receive your request. I mean, you will receive the invitation. Can you tell me your roll numbers or the names?
Abhishek, sir, present.
Ian Duru is the person, sir.
Yeah, sure. Abhishek, Ayan,
Afrit present.
Afrit,
Sir, Aditya present.
Aditya, Bhubesh,
Akash also, sir.
Akash,
Sir.
Anshika also was present. Bhadrash
Yes.
was also present. Galangi
Sir,
Charan.
Abhishek, sir.
Yes, 12.
Kona VLN Abhishek, sir.
Okay, Kona VL and Abhishek.
Sir, Dheeraj present.
Krishna, sir.
Who is present?
Krishna.
Krishna.
Akash present, sir.
Yeah, Akash I already marked.
18 present. All present.
What about 18 and 19?
18 present. 19 present, sir.
Okay.
20 present, sir.
20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25.
22 presents.
Yeah.
27 present, sir.
23 present.
27.
Sir, 28 present.
28 present.
29 present.
29,
30 present, sir.
30, 31, 32, 33, 34,
35 present, sir.
35,
33 present, sir.
33,
34.
34, 36, 37,
12.
12. Yeah, Prithviraj already marked. So I'll tell you the roll numbers of the absentees. 6,
Sir,
11.
Sir, I think 36 is also present. He mentioned in the chart box.
Okay, 36, sure. So I'll tell you the roll numbers of the absentees. 6, 11, 15, 24, 25, 26, 31, 32 and 37. That's it, guys, right? So what I will do is I will send you the invitations and then I will leave. Okay, until then the recording will be going on.
Then, sir, in the database setup, we can use any database binding if they are having that privilege, sir.
Yes, you can use any database. Yeah, you can use Postgres, you can use MySQL, you can use SQLite. Okay, so for the time being, you can go ahead with SQLite only. You don't have to worry about setting up the MySQL. But if you want to, you can. See, it's a learning curve. It's a new thing that you are learning. And trust me, you are not going to lose anything by learning that by spending 5 minutes or half an hour or 1 hour, because you are going to never forget that. And it will be useful. I have done all these things by myself, okay, as part of my hobby. not through the syllabus subjects or anything. I'm just trying to motivate you.
Yes. Okay, sir. Then thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you,
Next to
Abhishek.
this point, sir.
Thank you, everyone. You may leave. I'll leave only after I'm done with adding people. Raj Singh Barodria. Oops. All 36% Yama Venkat. Oh, is it? Oh, if that is the case, then I will mark them as present. Just a second. Thank you, Yamma Venkata Harish Reddy. All 36% attendance. Regular class session.
Sir, I had a doubt, sir.
Yes.
So will we be contributing towards this GitHub repository?
You can, if you have very good things that you want to contribute. I will never stop you from doing that. For that, right, you need to first run this project, figure out what are the problems that you face with the project, okay, and you want to actually make some contributions, and tell me what are the contributions that you would like to make. I will very well accept it.
Sir.
I'll very well accept the PR.
Okay, sir.
Okay, thank you, Bhadrash.
Yes.
Thank you,
sir.
everyone. So see you in the next class. Bye.
Yes, sir.